What does a man truly see when standing on the edge of life and death? Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychological minds of the 20th century, experienced something extraordinary during a near-death encounter, a vision so powerful and mysterious that it forever changed his understanding of the soul consciousness and the afterlife. He didn't see the flames of hell. He didn't see the pearly gates of heaven. What Jung saw was something far more symbolic and perhaps far more real. In that timeless moment, he glimpsed a reality beyond the physical world, a realm that spoke not in words, but in archetypes, images, and truths buried deep within the human psyche. This vision wasn't just an experience, it was a revelation. It reshaped the way Jung understood life itself, teaching him that death is not the end, but a return to something deeper, something eternal. This is the story of Carl Jung's final vision of the afterlife and what it might mean for all of us. Are we prepared to see beyond the surface of life? Are we ready to face the truth that Jung discovered at the threshold of death? At the age of 69, Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist who explored the deepest layers of the human mind, faced an event that would forever reshape his understanding of life, death, and the soul. In 1944, Jung suffered a massive heart attack. For weeks he drifted in and out of unconsciousness, suspended between life and death. What he experienced during this time wasn't just a medical episode. It was something far more mysterious, a near-death experience. Though unlike any other, with a symbolic depth only Jung could articulate. In his diary, Jung wrote of a vision so profound, it felt more real than waking life. He described, "I was floating high above the earth. I saw our planet from an unimaginable distance. From that vast height, the earth appeared fragile, like a blue jewel suspended in infinite darkness." Jung felt detached from his body, his identity, and even his earthly concerns. He was no longer the famed psychologist, the author, or the man. He was simply awareness, a point of consciousness, gazing upon existence itself. But what struck Jung even more deeply was what he saw beyond the planet, a colossal, radiant temple floating in the cosmos. It wasn't just a building. It was alive with meaning, pulsing with a sacred presence that seemed to transcend all concepts of time and space. The temple, Jung believed, symbolized the self, the eternal divine essence that resides beyond the ego and personal identity. Jung felt drawn to this temple with an indescribable longing, as if he were approaching a home he had always known, but forgotten. Yet when he reached its threshold, something stopped him. A powerful sense, almost like a voice, told him, "You are not ready." He was not permitted to enter. His time had not yet come. This moment left an indelible mark on Jung's soul. He interpreted the temple as the ultimate truth, the core of being that we all return to after death. He came to believe that death is not a place, but a process, a return to the self, stripped of all illusions, masks, and ego. Life, with all its struggles and lessons, is preparation for this final act of wholeness. Jung's near-death vision also challenged conventional ideas of heaven or hell. He didn't see angels, demons, or fire. Instead, he saw symbols, archetypal images, drawn from the deepest layers of the unconscious mind. For Jung, these archetypes are not fantasies. They are the building blocks of reality, the patterns of the soul. He believed that after death, we encounter these symbols which reflect the true condition of our inner life. This insight had a profound effect on how Jung lived the rest of his years. He came to see every challenge, every shadow we face, as part of the individuation process, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. When we avoid our inner work, when we refuse to face our wounds and fears, we risk carrying that unfinished soul work beyond death. But when we live consciously, When we dare to explore the depths of our being, we prepare ourselves for the final unveiling. Jung's vision invites us to rethink the meaning of life itself. If death is not an end, but a return, then our task is to live with intention, courage, and awareness. We are here not just to achieve or to survive, but to integrate to become fully aligned with who we truly are. Imagine reaching the end of life and feeling no fear, only peace. That was what Jung described, a sense of liberation as his ego dissolved and only the self remained. He called it a return to something eternal, a truth deeper than anything he had known while alive. This is the power of Jung's near-death vision. It isn't just his story, it's a mirror for all of us. What would we see if we were to look beyond life, beyond the surface of who we think we are? Are we living in a way that prepares the soul for that ultimate moment? Jung's heart attack may have brought him close to death, but it also brought him closer to understanding life's deepest purpose. His vision of floating above the earth, seeing our fragile world from afar, was a reminder of how small yet precious life is. And his glimpse of the temple was a message the true journey is within. Carl Jung's near-death experience in 1944 was not only extraordinary, it was transformative. During those moments, as he drifted beyond the boundaries of life and death, Jung witnessed a vision that would forever alter his understanding of the soul identity and the afterlife. He wrote of seeing the earth as a deep blue sphere in the vastness of space. From that unimaginable distance, the planet appeared small, yet profoundly beautiful, like a fragile jewel suspended in an infinite ocean of silence. In that moment, the sense of time, the linear ticking of hours and days, completely vanished. Jung no longer felt connected to his identity, his achievements, his titles, or even his name. Everything he had built in life, everything the world associated with him, the author, the psychologist, the thinker, seemed irrelevant. It all faded into the background, as if it had never truly mattered. Only awareness remained, pure, unbounded consciousness that simply existed without judgment, fear, or attachment. He described the experience as one of profound peace, unlike anything he had ever felt during his lifetime. It wasn't just a fleeting moment of calm. It was a liberation from all the burdens of the ego. Jung said everything that had existed before seemed to fall away. It was as though he had been stripped down to his essence, the eternal part of himself that existed before his birth and would continue beyond his death. In this state, Jung realized how much of life is dominated by the ego, our constant striving for recognition, control, and validation. The ego, with all its noise and demands, is not the true self. When it falls away, what remains is a quiet but powerful truth. We are more than our identities, our successes, or our failures. Jung's experience was not frightening, but deeply enlightening. He felt that death was not an end, but a transition, a return to the deeper self, the eternal consciousness that connects all living beings. It was as if he had briefly stepped beyond the veil of life and glimpsed the reality that lies beneath all appearances. This vision also made Jung question the way we live. If everything, the roles, the possessions, the names, will one day fall away, then what truly matters for him? The answer was clear. What matters is the work of the soul, the journey of individuation, becoming whole, integrating our shadow and aligning with our authentic self. He believed that this inner work is not just for this life, but for what comes after. Death, in his view, is the final act of individuation. It is the moment when everything false dissolves, leaving only the truth of who we are. And the more we prepare for this, by living consciously, by facing ourselves, the less we will fear the moment when all masks fall away. Imagine for a moment, feeling that sense of release, a state where time ceases, and all that remains is peace, clarity, and connection to something infinite. That was what Jung experienced, and it gave him a renewed perspective on life. He returned with a message: we are not just living for the external world, we are living for the awakening of the soul. Jung's account challenges us to live differently. Are we clinging too tightly to our ego? Are we distracted by the surface of life, forgetting the depth within us? His near-death vision is both a reminder and a call to live so consciously, so fully, that when the final moment comes, we don't fear letting go. Instead, we simply return to what we have always been: awareness, truth, and peace. As Carl Jung drifted deeper into his near-death experience, he found himself in a realm beyond anything the human mind could fully comprehend. The earth, once vivid and real, now felt like a distant memory, a dream that had faded away. In its place, the vastness of the cosmos stretched endlessly silent and eternal. And then he saw it, a magnificent stone temple suspended in the heart of the universe. It was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The temple glowed with a light so pure and unearthly that Jung struggled to describe it later. It wasn't a light that merely illuminated. It was alive, radiating a sense of timeless wisdom and divine presence. In that moment, Jung felt an overwhelming knowing he was meant to enter it. This temple seemed to represent everything he had sought throughout his life: truth, unity, and the essence of the self that transcends ego and time. Every fiber of his being longed to step through its threshold. But just as he approached, something stopped him. A voice, powerful yet calm, spoke to him. "You must return." The words were undeniable, carrying a weight that left no room for resistance. Jung felt a deep sadness at the thought of leaving. The peace and clarity he had found in that cosmic space were unlike anything in earthly life. To return to his body with all its limitations seemed almost unbearable. Yet he knew that his time had not come. This moment, standing before the glowing temple and being told to turn back, left a profound mark on Jung's soul. He later interpreted the temple as a symbol of the self, the divine, eternal essence at the core of every human being. For Jung, this was not a hallucination or fantasy, but a spiritual reality, a reminder that death is not an end, but a homecoming to the deepest truth of who we are. The voice that told him to return was, in his understanding, a call to complete his work in this world. There were still lessons to learn, shadows to integrate, and insights to share. His life's journey of individuation, of becoming whole, was not yet complete. When Jung returned to consciousness, he was forever changed. The vision of the temple reminded him that all the struggles, fears, and illusions of life are temporary. What truly matters is the growth of the soul, the work of connecting with our inner truth, of facing what we often avoid, and of living authentically. He believed that the temple exists for all of us, not as a physical place, but as a state of being. It is the symbol of wholeness and integration, the eternal destination of every soul. Whether we reach it in this life or beyond depends on how deeply we engage with our own inner journey. Imagine standing before such a place, a temple glowing with a light beyond description, feeling that you are home, only to be told you must return. Jung's story is not just about his near-death experience. It is a call to live so fully and consciously now that when our time comes, we can step across that threshold without fear, ready to merge with the self. Carl Jung's near-death experience left an indelible mark on his understanding of life, death, and the soul. Among the most powerful moments of this journey was his vision of the stone temple suspended in the cosmos. To Jung, this was no ordinary vision. This temple radiated a presence so profound and eternal that it felt like the very heart of existence. As he stood before its glowing threshold, Jung felt a deep, intuitive knowing that this place represented something beyond words. The temple symbolized total knowledge, divine truth, or perhaps the very center of the self, of the ultimate wholeness that transcends ego-time and mortality. It was as though every answer to life's mysteries, every truth hidden from human understanding resided within those walls. Yet, as much as his soul longed to cross into this sacred space, Jung realized that he could not stay. A force both firm and compassionate made it clear his earthly task was not yet complete. In that instant, Jung felt himself being pulled back, away from the radiant light of the temple, away from the infinite stillness and peace he had touched. He was drawn back to his body, back to the heavy weight of pain, illness, and the ordinary world he had momentarily left behind. This return was jarring, almost like being torn from a place of ultimate clarity and love. But Jung did not see this refusal as punishment. Instead, he understood it as a spiritual postponement. The temple was not rejecting him. It was waiting. He had more work to do, both for himself and for humanity. There were still shadows to confront, lessons to teach, and wisdom to share. His life's mission, his journey of individuation, was unfinished. This realization profoundly changed how Jung viewed his own existence. Life was not just about surviving or achieving. It was about preparing the soul for its final return to the self. Every challenge, every wound, every moment of self-discovery was part of the path leading to that temple, to that ultimate wholeness he had glimpsed. For Jung, this experience reinforced one of his deepest teachings: the self is eternal. The ego, with all its roles, identities, and attachments, falls away in the face of death. What remains is the essence of who we truly are, a consciousness that exists beyond time and form. And this essence, the self, is what the temple represented. The vision also served as a reminder that our earthly tasks are vital. As much as we may long for spiritual peace or transcendence, we are here in this life for a reason. Jung believed that we are meant to integrate our experiences, face our shadows, and live authentically, so that when the time comes, we can step fully into the truth that awaits us. Returning from this experience, Jung carried a renewed sense of purpose. He saw life as both fragile and sacred, a brief opportunity to awaken to deeper truths. His vision of the temple was not just a personal revelation, it was a message for all of us. We each have a temple waiting for us, but we must first complete our journey here. This idea challenges us to ask, are we living with intention? Are we doing the inner work required to prepare our souls? Jung's story is a powerful reminder that life is not just about the external world, but about the internal journey, one that continues even after death. In his writings, Jung described the temple not as a place of judgment, but as a place of integration, where all the fragments of the self are united, where we return to the essence of what we have always been. His near-death experience revealed that this path to the temple begins here, in the choices we make and the courage we show in facing ourselves. The voice that sent him back was not saying no, but not yet. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson. Our time here, however imperfect, is an opportunity to grow, to awaken, and to prepare for the moment when we will step across that threshold, ready and whole. Carl Jung's near-death experience left him with insights that forever shaped his understanding of life, death, and the soul. Among the most profound revelations was his interpretation of the stone temple he saw floating in the cosmos. To Jung, this temple was not just an otherworldly vision. It was a powerful symbol of the self, the eternal core of our being that exists beyond the layers of persona and ego. Jung believed that the self is the ultimate truth of who we are, while the persona is the mask we wear in society, our roles, titles, and identities. The self is something far deeper. It is eternal, unshakable, and connected to something greater than our individual existence. The temple, glowing with an indescribable light, represented the culmination of life's inner journey, the moment when all illusions dissolve, and we return to the wholeness of our true nature. He understood that the path toward this temple was the path of individuation, his central psychological concept of becoming whole, by integrating all aspects of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious light and shadow. To reach the temple meant that the process of individuation was complete, that the soul had fully realized and embraced its eternal nature. But Jung couldn't enter. Just as he approached the threshold, a voice told him, "You must return." This was not rejection, but revelation. The fact that he could not step inside meant that his soul still had work to do. There was more to integrate, more to understand, and more to teach. This insight was transformative. For Jung, it confirmed that the afterlife is not a place, but a state of realization. It is not about golden streets or fiery punishments, but about the condition of the soul, the degree to which we have faced ourselves, healed our wounds, and embraced the totality of who we are. Death, in his view, is not an ending, but the final unveiling of truth. Jung's experience challenges us to rethink the meaning of life itself. If the afterlife is a state of realization, then our life's work is not about accumulating wealth or achievements, but about inner growth. The shadow we ignore, the unresolved wounds we carry, and the unconscious fears we bury will shape the state of our soul when the time comes. This understanding gave Jung's concept of individuation an even greater significance. It is not just a psychological process, it is a spiritual journey. By confronting the parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid, by reconciling with our shadow, and by aligning with our authentic self, we are preparing for that final moment when all layers of illusion fall away. He returned from his near-death vision with a renewed sense of purpose. The temple was still waiting for him, as it waits for all of us. But life had given him more time to continue his work, to help others, and to deepen his own inner journey. His experience serves as a reminder that while death will come for us, all the state of our soul when we meet, it is shaped by how we live now. Imagine for a moment, standing at the threshold of a place that holds all truth, all knowledge, and all peace, only to realize that you are not yet ready to step inside. Jung's vision urges us to ask, are we living in a way that prepares us for that moment? Are we daring enough to live consciously, to heal, and to integrate the parts of ourselves we've hidden away? For Jung, the afterlife is not a distant location, but the state of our inner world revealed in its purest form. And the journey toward that realization begins here, in every choice we make, every fear we face, and every step we take toward becoming whole. Have you ever wondered what truly happens when we face the edge of life? When death is no longer an abstract idea, but a reality staring us in the eye. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that in these moments, we don't just slip into darkness. Instead, something profound takes place. An inner journey filled with symbols, visions, and archetypes that reveal the deepest truths of our soul. Jung described that those who come face to face with death often encounter powerful symbolic images, temples, luminous guides, or breathtaking visions. These are not mere hallucinations, not the random fireworks of a dying brain. They are archetypes, timeless psychic truths that rise from the depths of the unconscious, offering us a final mirror to who we truly are. Imagine standing before a magnificent temple, a structure that feels more real than anything you've seen in the physical world. Its gates are wide, but not everyone can enter. Jung himself experienced this vision during his near-death episode. He realized this temple wasn't just a building out there in some distant realm. It was a representation of the self, of the divine core, within every human being. To him, the temple symbolized total knowledge, divine truth, the center of existence. But he could not cross its threshold. Why? Because as Jung believed, his soul still had more integrating to do. His journey on earth wasn't over. And here's the most striking part: Jung believed this experience wasn't unique to him. He suggested that anyone who approaches the end of life may encounter similar symbolic images. These moments are invitations, a chance to recognize that life is not just a physical experience, but a spiritual path. The temple, the guides, the visions, they are not external places or beings. They are aspects of you. They are fragments of your higher consciousness calling you home. Think about this. What if death isn't the end, but a process of remembering? What if these archetypes are like keys unlocking a deeper awareness that's been hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives? Jung believed that by understanding these symbols, we could prepare for death not with fear, but with a sense of awe and acceptance. Perhaps the temple within you is waiting to be discovered even now. You don't have to wait for death to approach its gates. Meditation, self-reflection, dreams. These are all pathways that can lead you closer to that inner sanctuary. Jung often said that dreams, for example, are messages from the unconscious filled with symbols that guide us toward wholeness. What if every dream you've had is like a doorway, a piece of the map leading you back to that inner temple? So what does this mean for us, the living? It means that life is not just about surviving or achieving. It's about integrating all parts of yourself, your shadow, your pain, your potential, so that when you finally face that ultimate moment, you don't see death as an enemy, but as a teacher. Jung believed that individuation, and the process of becoming your true self, is the real preparation for death. And the temple within you is both the destination and the journey. In the end, the question is not whether you will encounter these symbols, but whether you will recognize them when they appear. Will you understand the guide that reaches out to you? Will you step toward that temple with courage? So what did Carl Jung truly witness in that extraordinary moment between life and death? It wasn't the heaven of golden gates or the hell of eternal flames. What Jung saw was something far more mysterious, a threshold, a bridge between the finite world we know and the infinite realm beyond. In that fleeting vision, he glimpsed what he called the architecture of the soul. It wasn't a place you could touch or measure. It was a presence, a truth that resonated from deep within. And then, just as suddenly, he returned, carrying with him a message that continues to stir hearts and minds to this day. Perhaps the real afterlife is not a destination, but a state of awakening. Maybe it's not about where we go when we die, but what we awaken to, an understanding so profound that it transforms our entire view of life. Jung believed that the temple he saw was not out there in some distant paradise, but inside us all. It is a temple we must build during our lifetime, brick by brick, with every act of courage, love, and self-discovery. And when our own final moment comes, we will not be afraid to enter. What if this vision wasn't a dream or an illusion, but a glimpse of the eternal truth? What if Jung's experience was an invitation for each of us to look deeper within, to discover that the soul is not a concept, but a living, breathing part of who we are? Comment below. What do you think Jung's vision really meant? Was it just a symbol or a key to a greater reality? Share your thoughts. Your voice matters here. And if this journey into the unseen stirred something inside, you hit subscribe. Let's keep exploring the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil of our everyday lives.